Hello, hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you might be watching and tuning in from. It's Crystal Diaz here, and I'm back for another live interview. If you've been following me for a while, then you will know that every month, actually this past 10 months now, which I'm excited about, the past 10 months, every month, no fail, I've been inviting special guests to come on, and I'm so thrilled to have another special guest who I've known for a number of years. But before we get into that, I want to welcome you to this live broadcast. This is the Ask the Expert series as part of the Online Vocal Academy, where we talk about all things to do with performance, anything to do with music and singing. It's just this, it's a conversation about passion and purpose through music. So if that is what you're into, then you are in the right place. My name is Crystal. I'm a vocal coach and singer at CSMA Studio and co-founder of the Online Vocal Academy. Now, in this episode, we're going to be talking about finding your passion, doing what you love. And of course, we've all heard this before. It's easier said than done, right? But is it truly possible to live a fulfilling life and profitable life doing only what fills you with joy? I mean, is that really possible? Is that practical? So, what does living a life following your passion even look like? So this is what we're going to be talking about today in this live interview. So be sure to stick around and share your thoughts, ask your questions. We'd love to hear from you. Now, if singing happens to be your passion, then I have something you will definitely want to check out. I've created 3 guided vocal exercise routines that are yours for free. All you have to do is click the link in the description box here, and I will actually post a link later on as well. But you can head on over to onlinevocalacademy.com/bundle. That's onlinevocalacademy.com/bundle. I can pop a link here in the box so you can see it. There we go. And you can grab your free vocal exercise bundle, and you will hear my voice. You will get a whole PDF guide on how to use the exercises. And also, when you play the exercises, you will hear my voice guiding you through every step of the way. So if you're passionate about singing, or you're a speaker, for example, and you want some exercises that are just really handy that you can download and play and just get started on, then these exercises will definitely be helpful for you. So be sure to grab them. All right. In this month's Ask the Expert, I am thrilled to have award-winning actor, singer, and songwriter Lam as my special guest. Now, Alex's father is George Lam, which many of you probably know, Lam. He is a legendary singer in Asia, and Alex's mother is also a former music producer. Now, Alex has released his critically acclaimed debut album in 2012. He's a prolific actor with well over 20 productions for both big and small screens under his belt. On top of that, he's also a licensed and highly sought after yoga instructor. Okay, so you got acting, singing, songwriting, and yoga. And that is Alex's passions. All right, welcome to the live stream here, Alex.
Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for your time. I'm excited about this.
Yeah.
We met. I mean, I think we've known each other for a long time, but I think the first time we really started to be in touch is through singing, right? Actually, you came to the studio and you had sessions. I think this is when you were releasing your album, or just after. Was that it? Remind me.
It was the first year that I had just released my first album in Hong Kong. At that time, I was under Universal Music, and so it was kind of like in the time of, like, I had just recorded my first song, but there was 4 more songs. So in order to kind of just have more preparation for the recording sessions, um, at the time, my record company, they were like, "Oh, you should go visit, you know, Christine," and that's how I met you. I met your mom
Yeah.
first, but then I met you, and just kind of like I remember bringing the songs that I needed to record, and we would, run through them together, and it was a very special experience for me because before that, I had never worked on music so detailed with anybody before. like like the way we used to work at it, we would study like the verse and lyrics and kind of like just like break down like stylistically how you could sing it or what are the options or and then for me I was really green, so all the things you guys were teaching at that time was like oh wait, we have different voices. Like, so I thought it was a very great opportunity because prior to that, I'd never had any kind of like formal music training or anything. So everything was kind of just like I figured it out, how to play guitar by myself or write songs. But like that was kind of my first step into it, just a more like a professional way of, sharing and talking about music.
Amazing. I don't think I knew that you were that was kind of the first time you had been in training in that way at that time, or at least maybe I don't remember. But thank you for sharing that. I remember those times. I remember like going through, and I also remember that
Yeah.
you were a really good student. you
Really?
were, you're really like you're there. You got your homework done, and you like were looking and you asking questions. I can always tell like when somebody is a good student, they're learning is by the questions they ask. When they
Oh,
ask certain questions, I'm like, okay, you're thinking about this. You're thinking about it.
yeah.
All right. So
Yeah.
I want to start. I want to first of all say hello to those who are tuning in live. I know some of you will be tuning in with the replay later on. So hello to you too. But hello to all those who are here live. I see Jasmine. Um, I cannot pronounce. I know it's something. Hey, hello. So I can't read your second word there, but hello. And I see Manish is here and Angela. Hey, Angela. Angela is one of our inner circle members. Shout out to you, Angela. And all right, so first, I want to start from the beginning. You said in your bio that music has always been your best companion throughout life. And I think in that way, you and I have similar upbringings. Of course, our parents know each other quite well. And I also grew up in a very musical environment, but I'd love for you to share with us and to take us back to what life was like growing up in such a musical household.
Well, speaking of which, I think our parents used to, sing at the clubs together, right?
Oh, yeah.
In Hong Kong back in the
They
60s.
go way back. They
We
go
go
way,
way
way
back.
back.
They go way back. Yeah. I mean like well for like just on that as a note, like I remember growing up like always hearing about the music scene in Hong Kong in the 60s and the 70s and it sounded like a really great time. I would hear about like these hotel clubs or discos, and they're just
Bayside, Hideaway.
yeah, like they like I think like my dad was singing at those clubs like almost I mean weekly, and I think it was just a very like health like very vibrant and thriving like scene for, music, singing, dance, and then I would imagine fashion and just seeing a lot of young people running around and 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 like a lot of great, performances and like so growing up like having that kind of being aware of that kind of environment made me kind of kind of like, oh, that sounds cool. But also when right away when I was born, like my dad was he was in the 80s, like the Hong Kong concert scene was very, very developed. And
Yeah.
they would have them at the Coliseum. And I remember just being at the Coliseum like for sometimes 20 nights in a row. And my dad doing concerts there. And the whole stadium packed with people just like and the energy, I just remember like that energy and the level of sound of people screaming and going crazy for the music then. So like
I have to ask you a question real quick. What was that like for you? No, when you see your dad, had you even realized that your dad was as famous as he was?
well, I mean, I don't think I truly totally understood the whole situation, but for me personally, just being there every night, like 20 nights in a row, I was just running around backstage. I remember running into the dancers' rooms and talking with the dancers because they were the most beautiful people. And then I remember like always being really chummy with the band and just kind of like playing with their instruments. And I just felt very, I think, looking back, I think I was very lucky and very blessed to be able to be exposed to this kind of music scene. And it's like, I remember it being very happy and a lot of fun. And everybody just working together to put on that show for that night. And it definitely had an influence on me because now I've been in the industry for a while and I've also been able to partake in similar types of shows. Like for some reason, I feel like it's kind of come full circle, and just to be in that kind of environment again feels like very familiar, and I can really appreciate it and really enjoy that energy of everybody working together to get that show down, like from
Yeah.
from the sound guy to the wardrobe to the makeup. Yeah.
You know what I think it's really fascinating too about being kind of growing up behind the scenes in that way is that the kind of work that goes into putting on a show like that by hook or by crook has to be done. The show must go on. I feel you do have to have a level of passion. You do have to really love what you do to
Yeah.
kind of choose to be in that. I mean, we all see, audiences, we see the final product and, we go to the concerts and we enjoy the show, but there's so much that gets put
Yeah.
into, and so many people's hard work and all, everything behind the scenes from every little
Yeah.
detail. And I do think that being in that environment, you feed off of, even if you're just observing, you feel that sense of passion. I mean, would you agree that just being backstage, you can feel that?
Yeah, that's why I also really appreciate your title today about, chasing or just, being passionate about your
Following your
work.
passion. Yeah.
Yeah, following your passion. Because I remember very clearly when I first came back to Hong Kong, and I first started doing movies. And the first time being on a movie set, it was a different world. It wasn't like music. I felt more familiar with music, but for movies, it was, really different, like a world and different trade. So the first time I remember being on a movie set and seeing a lighting guy and I think it's called like a grip, the guys who
Yeah.
run around and fix everything.
Yeah. You go everywhere.
Like
Yeah.
I was looking at them, and from my perspective, like being an actor, I was like, wow, this is really hard work. And like, I don't understand why he likes doing that because it's like, do you know what I mean? It's like
Oh,
so hard.
Alex, I
But
was I was a film major in school, in university. I
oh
studied
yeah,
film, so I know
you know,
I was behind. I was helping out with the grip.
you've
I was everywhere.
you've done
Yeah.
it. You've done it all, right?
A student level as well, like low budget, in the cold, in the rain. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, no, you have to really. It's true. You're like,
Yeah. So what I wanted to say was like many years after, like maybe like 4 years after being on the movie set again, I had a different perspective. I was like, I started understanding what they were doing, and I started to see that they really, really, truly like love being a grip.
yeah,
And that brings them a lot of joy, and that's what makes them passionate. And so, like, in many ways, I felt like the point I want to try to make is that what you were saying earlier about how there's all these different uh you know crafts behind a music show, similar to like when you make a movie, and everyone's, it might be very obscure what you're doing, being a grip or something, but when you find that joy doing that stuff, like I think that's one of the biggest keys in life, if you can find that.
maybe that is our all of our goals, right? And maybe that is the meaning of life. The purpose is to find your passion, find your
Yeah,
purpose.
I totally
Yeah, I
agree.
love that. I love that. I want to take back a little bit. You talked about when you were in university. Did that's when you started acting? Did you do what did you do at university? Actually, what did you study?
I studied creative writing.
Oh,
Yeah, I did English literature and creative writing.
oh,
I
I
wanted to
would
be
did not know
I
that.
wanted to be a shoe designer.
Okay,
But
wait. Just wait. Hold on. Hold up. Hold up. Like how? How did you? I'm gonna study creative writing, but I really want to be a shoe designer. How does that even relate?
so so when I was in high school, my my passion was skateboarding. Um, I used to skate every day, and I I had this huge affinity for skate shoes. Like because when you skateboard, you need a very specific type of shoe. Um, like you might have heard of like maybe DC Shoe Co. or um,
Vans.
yeah, Vans. So is a particular design to a skateboarding shoe. And while I was skating all through those 4 years in high school, like I really had a lot of ideas about what would be a cool skate shoe, and I wanted to design. I wanted to make ideally, I wanted a brand that would make skate shoes. So when I graduated from high school, I wanted to study shoe design. But back in the day, talking about 15, 20 years ago when I was trying to get into college, um, shoe design wasn't very popular. So if you wanted to do shoe design back then, you could only design high fashion shoes. You had to do, like high heels, for
Manolo
fashion
Blahnik's
show.
thing.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Jimmy Choo, that
Jimmy
kind
Choo
of thing.
line. Yeah.
Yeah,
Huh.
there wasn't any kind of practice for sneaker design back then. Nowadays there is, and sneaker culture is huge now, right? But back then it wasn't so popular. So I applied to a lot of different schools for shoe design, but they just were like, "I'm sorry, we don't have this course for you." And at the end of the day, after my search, I was like, okay, so I can't do shoe design. The subject that I was best at in high school was English literature. So kind of by default, I um, I applied as a English major, and eventually I got into college. So that's what I did. But I felt like it was a blessing in disguise because this at the college I went to, they had a major called English Literature slash Creative Writing, and I'd always been kind of interested in writing. Like I'd write some things a little bit, but never really developed it. But then when I got into this course, I slowly went on a journey of kind of discovering what it means to write, and in many ways, even to today, I'm very grateful I took this course because I've realized that that journey kind of brought me to songwriting.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I think that things happen for a reason, and every moment in our lives, things don't happen the way we initially planned it to. It is for a reason.
Yeah.
I do believe that too. And the fact that you can now see the end result of that, like, okay, if I didn't do that, hadn't gone that path, I might not have discovered this passion. But I think the key thing though is that you did follow your passion. You didn't say to
Mm.
yourself, okay, I'll be a lawyer. I'm not saying that lawyer is not something you should be you can't be passionate about. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying
Yeah.
you didn't pick another route. So I want to know, what are some of those circumstances that enabled you to do that? Is that something that was just always encouraged in your by your family members, or did your parents actually try to steer
Mm.
you away from that or somewhere else?
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting topic, and I think looking back now as an older person, I feel like it took me many, many years to realize my passion. And I think like not a lot of, I mean, there are some very lucky young kids who find their passion when they're young, but for me, it actually took quite a long time. And in many ways, my journey after I was in college. Um, I started one year. I started doing yoga, and I remember that year I started doing yoga. It changed my whole lifestyle. So the whole way I structured the time in my everyday, and because it changed the structure of my time, I found that I had more time because I was in college at the time, and like you had a lot of homework. But because I did yoga, so every day I had there was a yoga class at 4:30, and I went to that
In the
class
morning?
every day in the afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
Whew.
remember. Yeah, I remember because this yoga class was so important to me. I would go there, and then because I'd finish at 6 p.m., then I would be very punctual, and I'd come home at 6. I'd make dinner, and then I'd finish dinner around 7, and then very naturally, I'd have, I'd be at home at 7 p.m. and I'd do all my homework. I finish around maybe 9. And then from 9 to 12, I'd be like, oh, I'm here. I'd finished everything I needed to do. So that was when I really started like, what else can I do at home? I was like, so I have a guitar here. And so I was like, oh, let me try to, practice. And I realized because I was doing this yoga class every day, I was, you know, I was doing the schedule every day, and it's just mathematics. At the end of the day, after 1 year, if you have 2 hours every night from 10 p.m. to 12 p.m. playing a guitar, you are just going to get more things are going to be given to you. And because I had structured this schedule and provided the space for guitar to give me more, I just realized that, wow, this is something that I really, really enjoy. And the more time I was giving it, the more it was giving back. And I realized that this was a passion that I hadn't really developed. Like even though I grew up in a musical surrounding, in many ways, I never really put in the work to develop it. But in many ways, I credit yoga because if I hadn't gone to those classes at 4:30, I wouldn't. I probably, I'd be out, and then I'd be with friends, or I'd be out partying, and then I wouldn't do my homework. I come home at 10 and start doing my homework, and then you don't have time to do anything else.
I think there's so much value in what you said just now, and I just kind of want to break that down a little bit and pick it apart because I really, first of all, love how you talked about yoga. Yoga was something that you discovered and you were passionate. You're passionate about yoga, and you made it happen. You said you made that one choice, which is I got to make it to that 4:30 class because this is how much it means to me. Without knowing that you made that one decision, all of
Hmm.
these other little things happened as a result. So all you had to do was make that one decision to follow that one passion. And all
Yeah.
of a sudden, all of these other things lined up for you. And you're like, I've done all my homework now. I can learn the
Yeah.
guitar. And I think
Yeah.
that if we can all kind of take a page from I think I need to learn from that, first of all, right off the bat, because we all see that. I don't have time. No, I don't have
Yeah.
time to do that. No, but we can choose to make time. And I also love what you said about you put in 2 hours, an hour, you put in 30 minutes. Don't underestimate that part because through time, through even if you don't see the progress through time, you have no choice but to get better, really. And if you
Yeah.
have the guidance and you start taking lessons and whatnot, you're going to even progress even faster. But if you
Yeah.
keep going,
Absolutely.
you will progress. But
Yeah.
the other thing that I really liked what you said was that you credit yoga to kind of put all these things into motion for you to make you realize that in fact you are passionate about music. So I really really like that. That's something that I think all of us can learn oh, one more thing you said I love so much was the when you give you get back. When you give
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
get back, and that can be applied in so everything in life, no, right? You give you get back, and when you give into your passion gives back to you too. So I
Hmm.
love that. I just had to pick that apart because I felt like there were so many great nuggets there that you had just
Yeah.
shared. So I want to know though, my next question is what is your passion? Is it singing? Is it music? Is it yoga? Is it equally all? I mean, tell me which one is it?
Hmm. That's a tough one. because I mean, it's really tough because I feel like I've been able to experience a lot of great blessings. I mean, just if we take it chronologically, after that period in college when I started, being more devoted to playing guitar, like that 2 hours, it became like I remember there was about 3 years where I would play guitar for every day, like 7 hours. Just like I think it's kind of like if you break it down in an exercise way, like I'm gonna train myself to run 10K. I'm gonna run 10 kilometers every night for a month. And just naturally, if you are able to finish that, the next month you're gonna be like, okay, I'm just gonna run 20K every night. And and for me,
As one
like,
does.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't do that,
I'll be
no.
back. I'll be back
I
in a
would,
couple hours. No worries.
yeah. I mean, that might be a little bit extreme analogy. I wouldn't
Maybe a
run
little bit
20K. Yeah. But
every
I
night.
mean, but for music, like I remember I had put in the 2 hours and it just became easier. And then as more was being returned back to me, I was like, wow, I wrote a song. And you start seeing these results. You get a little bit, high.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, this is quite thrilling. And like, wow, did I do that? Like, because I think you like people who do music, we understand that like music is like kind of a miracle. Like I don't know, like all the songs I wrote, like they really feel like they come from a different place. So I never really like, think I wrote it. I just felt like, I was given it kind of. So like as it started giving more, I started getting high. And what I want to say, like why I tell the story is because to answer your question, I feel that now my greatest passion is that kind of feeling, is just that
Got
kind
it.
of thrill, that thrill of creating something. I think
I
whether
totally
it
get it.
be whether it be a song or whether it be a performance or whether it be like collaborating with other people for any kind of project, like just that thrill of like, wow, like we made something. And I think that is kind of like the fuel that is kind of fueling me. But I find that passion in a lot of different mediums now, like music, film, yoga too. Yoga is a little bit different because yoga is kind of a little bit even more, I want to say, charitable because you find that joy from when your students improve, and it's a little bit less about um, the product. It's more about
Yeah.
their improvement. So I feel really blessed. Maybe you feel the same way about teaching because like when my yoga students, when they improve, like I get really happy.
Of
So
course.
yeah, I think that's one of the joys of teaching too.
That is the number one reason why we do what we do, right? I don't I think that teaching has to be a passion. You have to be passionate about it. I know that there's um, some maybe will teach because in between gigs or something like that, but for me, I 100% agree that for me, teaching is I'm passionate about singing, passionate about music, but I'm equally passionate about teaching because of that, because of the impact that you see somebody um, in just changing, helping them change one thing, and then they realize, something, the greatness within them in a way. Same
Yeah,
thing with when you're saying about yoga, and when you were talking, I have to ask you this: have you seen the movie Soul?
I did.
Yeah. Did you love it?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I want to go watch it I watched that. I watched it at home. I
Okay.
downloaded it. You know the cinemas are closed now,
Yes, yes.
but I
We will
I
go
had to watch it.
when it's out. We will go
Yeah,
when
yeah,
it's
we'll
out.
go again. Yeah,
We
we'll
will
go
go three
again.
times.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. To make up.
To
But
make
yeah,
up.
yeah, I did, and I felt it. Yeah, those are really great messages in that movie.
So many, yeah, so much. And I think it's one of those, I watched it with my kids, and I think it's one of those things that, they'll see it at one level. When they're older, they'll see it at a different level, and they'll see it at a different level. But
Yeah.
that, what you talked about just now, about that tapping into that, that feeling. So it's not, so what is passion? It's like, okay, yeah, you're interested in it, but it doesn't mean you're only going to be passionate about that one thing for the rest of your life.
Oh
But what
yeah.
is it, that thing, right? Is it
Yeah.
possible to be multi-passionate? And I think what you're talking about is this, that feeling is what ties it all together. It's whatever
Yeah.
activity that you're doing that brings about that sense of tapping into something that's beyond yourself,
You,
kind of
you know,
taking you into a zone.
Crystal, I just wanted to share one point because I realized that maybe we're thinking about the same thing. But like for example, that I remember when I was young, there was a few years when I was just starting to get really serious about music, and kind of in my mind, kind of like the main character in Soul, I became almost too stubborn in my passion. In Soul, his character, he was a very talented jazz
Pianist.
musician.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he kind of limited himself, right? Because he kind of tricked himself in many ways to believe that, oh, I'm just about jazz and I don't want to be about anything else. And I found that I had done that too with my passion. When I was younger, I had an image of what my passion might have been like. I want to be a musician and I want to play in a band, and that's it, you know. So when I first came back to Hong Kong and I was presented with other opportunities, I was a little bit hesitant, like, oh, I don't want to do that because that's not what
That's not
my
me,
passion.
my identity. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
in the beginning, I struggled a lot to kind of, find my ground, just my positioning of how I want to position myself and what I want to do. I also feel I haven't really found my position now because I think uh, it's difficult to just define, right? But
Yeah.
I think one thing I learned in the past few years is just to be a little bit open and kind of allow your passion to mutate a little bit. And you might surprise yourself, just not saying no so fast. And
Exactly.
I mean, because I remember one question that you wanted to ask me was if there was anything I could, tell my younger self. Maybe I might say, just to not say no so fast and be a little bit more open-minded, especially for people who might watch this, because a lot of musicians are very passionate. They have a very strong, they're really driven by their heart. And sometimes when you're that driven, it's hard to be open-minded because you just love this one thing so much. It might make you closed-minded for other things.
I think that is so true. And it's kind of going back to that movie. There's that fine line between being passionate and then being like too far in that you almost can't get yourself out. And that's what you're talking about, being, remember to be open minded, that there are other things that you can be passionate about. You don't have to just be that one thing. But I also want to talk about what you talked about in terms of musicians and passionate and being open minded, and also identity. I think this past year has really changed everything in so many ways, as it obviously impacted so many professions. Of course, musicians, actors, performers have 100% been impacted. First of all, I'd love to know, can you share with us, how has COVID this past year impacted you, and how has that led you to redefine yourself, or has it in any way?
Yeah, it definitely. Music and entertainment has been affected big time in Hong Kong. Um, I mean, I think it's important to be positive, even though it's quite tough. But I think the only way to survive now for musicians is to look at this as a opportunity. Like maybe this can change the way that because I feel like nobody really has an answer now, and no, we're kind of in the middle of COVID now, and we don't really see the light at the end of the tunnel yet. And we're not sure if or when life might go back to be like the way before. And I think there's a really great question that COVID has presented is, do we want to go back to life the way before? Because now we're presented with a choice. And for example, if somebody develops a really great way to present music for the future, we don't, nobody knows what it is, but if somebody thinks about it, like, I mean, that's it. Like we might not have a choice. We might have to embrace it. So the only way I can think about it now, like, and the way I've been living the past year is just to see it as an opportunity to work in the restrictions that we have.
Yeah.
And in many ways, like I kind of, this has just been something that like I've picked up by a lot of, books or interviews I've read about a lot of, musicians and filmmakers before, like, before, like bands used to record with one mic, and
Yes.
like that was, I mean, that is a major restriction. Like everybody has to, the singer has to be in tune, and the timing has to be well,
There's
and the guys have to play well,
there's no
and
auto
like
tune. There's no
there's no
auto tune.
auto tune, and there's no take this performance and cut this performance, and and that restriction forced those guys to deliver. And the motto that I've kind of adopted this past year is to kind of think in that mindset, like, like if it's in the way of in filmmaking, like, before, oh, maybe we have $5 million, but now we only
Mhm.
have now we only have 1 million. So
Okay.
it's like,
That
well,
much.
yeah,
Yeah.
you
Back
we
then it
have,
was even less. Yeah.
yeah, even less. So like just to work in the restrictions and be creative. And I think that is, I think if we keep this positivity, we might surprise ourselves.
I think that is so relevant and such a great way to think about it as well, and a great mindset to adopt. And something that came to mind as you were talking was this idea of the more boxed in we are, the more outside of the box we have to think, right? In a way, we have to be
Yeah,
creative. Is what you're is how what I'm getting. And I completely agree with you. It's in those moments when we feel boxed in that we're forced to be creative and to think and to be resourceful and to, in a way, reimagine ourselves, reimagine our environment and where we are. And that's where I think maybe the greatest creativity, those moments of creativity really come.
yeah.
So yeah, that is so. I feel like Alex, I could talk to you for hours.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
I know, but I'm looking at the time, and thank you so much, because we do have our part 2 session. So Inner Circle members, if you are watching right now, there is a part 2 private sit down closed door session with Alex. He's going to give us a little bit more peek into his life, a little bit more wisdom there. But before we sign off and say thank you, Alex, for this incredible discussion here, I want to just quickly look at the comments if we have any questions here. If not,
Okay.
then I wanted to also use this opportunity. Alex, can you share with us what is coming up for you coming up that we can all look forward to?
So I have a new song coming out. It's called Ngoi Mut Yao Lei Yao. It's a Mandarin song. And I
爱没有理
I
由.
I Mei Leo.
Okay.
I wrote it with I wrote it a long time ago, long time ago. And I met up with June Kong
Hmm.
about 2 years ago, and that was when I just started doing music independently. I left Universal, and I was like, I want to try to do some music that's, I want to, that's completely, that belongs to me. So I had just made a few songs, and then June kind of caught word because we have a lot of mutual friends. And June is also an independent music maker. So, June, his personality, he's just a very like, if he knows you're like on his in his world, he embraces you like full on. So so he was like, you're independent, like let's do something. So like he really wanted to support me. So he was like, let's make a song. So we got into a studio, and he asked me, do you have any songs? And I was like, well, I have this song that maybe we can try to work on, because and for some reason I felt he would get it, because it's kind of like a country ballad.
Oh.
But yeah, but it's kind of like a country ballad slash Oasis, but Mandarin style. Yeah.
That's
So like
amazing.
yeah, so
When is
I
that
just
coming
felt
out?
like so we worked on it 2 years ago. We finished recording. It took us a year to do the MV. The MV just came back about a couple weeks ago. So now we're planning the promo. We're almost there, almost there. Once the promo schedule is all done, then it's going to come out. The MV has a lot of surprises in it, because we developed a really big story for it, and that I'm really excited to share this song. I feel really proud of it, and yeah, I hope I can bring it out soon. That's what's
Okay.
happening. Yeah,
Okay, got it. So we don't know exactly when, but it should be coming out soon. And where can
soon,
people
soon.
follow you? What's the best way for people to follow you and keep up with what you're doing?
So I have a YouTube channel called Alexander Lam, just my full name,
Okay.
and the MV is going to be there. And then I have a studio called Fish Tank, and all our videos are on that on that page too. So that's the best way, I think, to see the work that I've been doing lately.
Is this correct?
That's
Alexander
right.
Lam Tuction. Ooh, I got it
Yeah,
right on YouTube.
yeah.
Okay, great. So we will I'll make sure that we check that out. And I cannot wait to hear this cross country rock Oasis in Mandarin.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. And thank you to
Oh,
all. And hello, Jasmine. Jasmine says you're looking forward to
hi,
attending your
Jasmine.
concerts and giving
Thank
you
you,
the
Jasmine.
strongest support. And she's an English major too. Hey there.
Hey,
All
yeah.
right. So thank you again,
Thank you.
Alex. And
Oh,
Inner
thank you,
Circle members, I'll
Crystal.
see you in a couple of minutes. And thank you all for tuning in. I'll see you all soon. All right. Bye bye.